Howdy, today we're in the feed Conex at Fiddler's Green. So we're going to talk a little bit about feeding. When you come in to feed, you're going to come grab one of these wheelbarrows. Wheelbarrow will be full of feed, and that's what you're going to use to put out all our feed. But what you want to do when you come in is you want to reference our chalkboard. The chalkboard should be updated by the stable master regularly with any changes in the herds. So right here you can see all the horses that are supposed to be in alpha and also the count. Same with Bravo, Charlie, Delta, and then also the vet barn. There's also a section on the vet barn to detail any kind of treatment. Another thing you might see is when we have our Courtney Cares horses, you might see the horses' names listed that you might catch. That's just one thing that you'll want to reference. So before you go out to Delta to put out all this feed, go ahead and reference this chalkboard. While we're talking about the chalkboard, it'll talk about how much feed you're supposed to be putting out, any other details, but then also have the contact information listed for all your command staff. So each afternoon you'll want to send, or each feeding, you're going to send a feed report. And you're going to send it to all these numbers. That'll be Mr. Burns, your CEO, your XO, first sergeant, platoon leaders, and your stable master. And that was how our command staff did it. Your command staff might want to do it a little differently. Just go by their direction. Any of those numbers and names will be put up here. While we're talking about feed report, let's talk about the importance of it. So feeders are feeding at 6 a.m. in the morning and 6 in the evening. So a lot of times you're the first one here at the green and the last one to leave. So you want to make sure the green's secured each time you leave. So the feed report's letting you know that this is how we left it. But then also you want to report up anything that you think your command staff or Mr. Burns needs to know. So for example, if you saw a fence down and you had a hard time fixing it and you don't know if it's truly fixed, that's something you need to run a report up. Let's say, one example is when the weather changes in Texas, it goes from a really cold day to a warm day back to a cold day. There's a high chance that a horse might colic, which is a digestive issue. And you want to report signs of colic, but you also want to be wary of it. That's one thing that you might actually call Mr. Burns for. If you see a horse limping and your vet officer didn't know how to go about handling it, go ahead and report it up. But don't just leave it. Don't just assume that the next group's going to get it or that Mr. Burns will see it throughout the day. Go ahead and report it up. This is your accountability. You're also going to make sure that you have the herd counts listed. You're going to say, hey, in Alpha there's 21 horses, Bravo there's 18, so on and so forth. This is so we know that the counts have stayed the same. Don't just copy and paste it from the night before. Another thing you're going to do is you're going to make sure that you have, like we talked about in the tracks, you're going to have all the hay levels listed. You're also going to make sure, you're going to say that water trough in Alpha is good to go. Water trough in Bravo is good to go. Then you're going to report up any vet work. So this is when you can pass the phone off to your vet officer and he can say, I hydroed so-and-so's leg, I gave so-and-so bute. It's just for accountability purposes and making sure that all this work is getting done. Another thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to report up accountability. So this is one thing that we really made important our year is you had people just saying, hey, all feeders present. That's not true accountability. I want you to say that Joe was here, Frank was here, Bubba was here. And one thing you can do too is when you need a cover, you don't have to report it up your chain of command. You don't have to tell your platoon leader. You don't have to tell the CO or the XO, hey, I've got Army PT one morning. I'm going to get covered by Joe. Just go ahead and say, when you're doing your feed report, say, Joe's covering for Sammy. Just go ahead and send it up that way. You don't have to get approval, but you just need to make sure that each day the number of feeders that are supposed to be here are here. On that note, getting covering for your feed shift, a lot of people have Army contracts. A lot of people have Marine Corps, Navy, Air Force, whatever. You can make it work. A lot of times it looks like sending a text to a buddy and getting that verbal confirmation that they're going to cover you. It's not good enough to just put it in the group chat, your group meet with your buddies and say, can you cover me? Or hey, I need a cover. And if you don't hear anything, you're not covered. Treat it like a job. I don't want to threaten repercussions because each staff does it differently, and I get situations come up, but there's not any tolerance for missing a feed shift in PMC. It's too simple to do, so just really take care of your business. But feed report is where you're going to announce that accountability, or if someone's not there, you say so-and-so wasn't here. And go ahead and end it with the green is secured. your command staff or your stable master will be able to answer any specific questions about feeding.